So I was just sitting in the Kroger parking lot, y'all, trying to figure out how I was going to stretch this $10 to feed my family, because I want to make soup because it's cold today. We all are pretty much under the weather, and you know, soup just feels like the perfect thing. But $10 is all I have in this account, and the other money I have is locked up until tomorrow. Anybody been there? Bill collectors are calling me right now because I missed some credit card payments for the first time last month. And to top it all off, I cannot even do Uber deliveries because my background check with Uber has been stuck for 2 months. So here I am, sitting outside, feeling the weight of it all, wondering, God, please, when is this going to get better? As I'm sitting here, though, I'm realizing something. This is the same pattern the Israelites fell into in the wilderness. Every time God delivered them, they would rejoice for a little while, rejoice for a moment. But as soon as a new challenge came, they would panic, they would complain, and they would doubt God all over again. They saw the Red Sea part. They walked through it on dry land. But the moment they got thirsty, they said, "Did God bring us out here to die?" When they got hungry, they cried out, "We were better off in Egypt as slaves." And so I realized that I was doing the same exact thing. God has come through for me over and over again, but because I am uncomfortable right now, it's like I'm forgetting about all of that. And isn't that exactly what the enemy wants? He wants us so focused on what we don't have that we completely overlook what we do have. So I want to share with you guys some examples of God's provision in my life so that I can remind myself and so that I can help y'all out too, hopefully. So instead of focusing on the fact that I only have $10, I am starting to think about how God has already provided for me in the past. Okay, so there was a time that we had more than enough. Me and my husband, we were able to give hundreds of dollars a month to people who needed it. We tithed more than ever last year, even though our income did not increase. And somehow we never lacked. I just got a job that pays $23,000 more a year than the last job that I had. I haven't started that job yet, but the provision is already in place. Hallelujah, Jesus. 3 people just bought my workbook. Now, if 3 people will buy my workbook in one day, more will buy it. God is already opening doors. My husband gets paid tomorrow. It's his payday. So even though today seems a little hard, it's okay because my husband has a job where he gets paid. Even though I would love to make some soup right now, we have plenty of food in the fridge and in the deep freezer. Yes, we have a deep freezer that's full of food. So even though I would like soup, I have other alternatives. We're still blessed. See, the enemy wants me to focus on the negative. He wants me to forget that I've paid every credit card bill on time for years before missing this 1 month. He wants me to forget that God has never failed me, but I refuse to fall into that trap today. So let me share with you guys some biblical examples of how faithful God truly is. Let me remind you of this very important thing. God doesn't change. If he provided for you before, he will do it again. And the Bible is full of proof of this very thing. For example, Elijah and the widow from 1 Kings chapter 17. A woman had only a little flour and a little oil left, just enough for one last meal before she and her son died. But Elijah came to her and said, "Make me a small cake first, and God will provide." Now this woman, y'all, again, she only had a little flour and oil for her and her son. And here comes this man talking about, "Make me a cake." But he didn't just say, "Make me a cake." He said, "Make me a cake and God will provide." And that woman, in her faithfulness, made that cake. I just want y'all to think about how much faith you got to have to do something like that. She obeyed, though, and her flour and oil, the Bible says, never ran out. I feel like that widow sometimes, looking at my last meal. But just like God sustained that widow, he will sustain me and you too. Let's not forget Jesus feeding the 5,000 in Matthew chapter 14. The disciples saw lack. They said, "We only have 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we got all these people. But Jesus saw abundance. He blessed what they had and it multiplied. What if instead of stressing over what I lack, I bless what I do have and watch God multiply it? Paul's secret to contentment is found in Philippians chapter 4, where Paul said, I have learned to be content in all situations, whether I have a lot or I have a little. I know I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I may not have everything I want today, y'all. I don't. But I have strength through Christ, and that's enough to get me through. So as I walk y'all for a minute, let's talk about some practical steps to shift our mindset. So how do we break out of this cycle? How do we move from frustration to faith? Here's what I'm learning to do. Remember what God has already done. Just remember. Take a moment and list 5 times that God has come through for you. Speak them out loud. Remind yourself, because if he did it before, he will do it again. Refuse to speak death over your situation. Now, the Israelites, they kept saying, we are going to die in this wilderness. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. They died in the wilderness. We want to speak life instead. I'm going to say, God is my provider. He is working it out for me. Just like he did it last time, he's going to do it this time. Bless what you have. Jesus blessed the little food before it multiplied. Instead of complaining about what I don't have, I am going to thank God for this $10 that I do have in my account. And I'm going to trust that it will stretch further than I think, because I could have been overdrafted, but I'm not. Take the first step in faith. The widow, she baked that bread, y'all. First, before the miracle even happened, she had faith. What is God asking us to do today in faith? Maybe it's applying for another opportunity. Maybe it's launching that business you've been talking about. Maybe it's simply choosing to be grateful. Whatever God is telling you to do right now, just do it. Or you could be like me. Maybe he's telling you to quit your job. And then you quit your job and you end up with no money. You're like, Lord, what is going on here? More on that later. So y'all, I'm going to go to the grocery store. And I'm not going to go as somebody who's struggling, but I'm going to as somebody who is trusting, because I know that my God provides. And I want to encourage you, whatever you are facing right now, don't let the enemy convince you that it is over. God is still working behind the scenes, baby. So let us switch our focus. Let's shift it. Let's shift our focus from not having anything to abundance. Let's shift it from being fearful to being faithful. Let's do that. Let's try that. Let's try that and see how God shows up. I want you to drop a comment below and tell me, how has God provided you in the past? How has he provided for you in the past? Let's remind each other of how great our God is. So what's going on right now is God is blessing me beyond measure right now. He's actually blessing me beyond measure. Like I told y'all, he's giving me a job that I did not qualify for. Matter of fact, the hiring manager said, you are the least qualified, pretty much. Like when we're talking about experience, you did not have that. But she said, we saw something in you and we think that you're going to be the best candidate for this position. A position that I had no experience in. The Lord has blessed me with it. This is after the Lord told me to quit my job about 4 months ago. He was putting me in position to get this job. Because had I had a job already, the person who told me about this job, she would have never told me about it. She would have never told me about it because I would have been employed. But because she knew that I didn't have a job, she reached out to me and told me about the job. And I applied, even though I was not qualified for it. Remember this, God qualifies the called. You don't have to be qualified for something that God gives you. He's going to be the qualification. He's going to qualify you. He's going to walk in the room before you and let people know who you are. So with that being said, I love y'all so much. Let me get back in this house and eventually go to the store because it is freezing down here in the South. All right, y'all. Until next time. Thank y'all. Bye. Love y'all. Peace. I used to believe that asking for more money is selfish. I used to believe that making money is hard. But God had to shift my mindset before he could shift my income. Luke 6:38 says, give and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Some of us are blocking our own overflow because we don't truly believe we deserve it or can receive it. Let me stop right here. If you're one of those people who believe this way, who have some of these limiting beliefs, some of the same ones that I had just a few weeks ago, like literally the Lord just changed my mindset at the beginning of the year. If you are like me, having these same thoughts that are keeping you from abundance, keeping you from where God is trying to put you, I'm going to ask you to go into my description right now and grab my Kingdom Wealth Workbook, okay? Now, this workbook is $27, but I have an excerpt for free. So go down there and start reading it. See if you like it now. See if you like the first few pages. If you feel like that it could really change your mindset, go ahead and grab your copy. Say this with me. This is my season of favor. This is my season of expansion. And this is my season of divine alignment. And with that said, I love you guys. Until next time, peace. Bye.